Okay, now that we know how a function machine works, let's go ahead and take a look at it in action. It says find the range of the function f of x equals 3x plus 1 if the domain of f of x is 0, 2, 4. So we'll recall that the domain is going to be the values that we put in, and the range are the values that we get out. And our function rule is 3x plus 1. Means we're going to multiply the x by 3 and then add 1. So let's try it out. I'm going to put 0 into the machine. This is my input. It's going to replace the x with a 0. And the rule says to multiply that by 3. So 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 equals 1. So when I put 0 into the machine, 1 comes out. Or when I put 0 into the function, 1 comes out. Let's try the value 2. So our domain is 2. I'm going to plug that into the function rule. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 comes out as 7. So if I input 2, I output 7. And lastly, 4. Again, we're going to input that into the function rule. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 as my output. So I put in the values 0 to 4, and the values that came out are 1, 7, 13, which are my range. Now, we previously talked about multiple representations, so I can take my domain and my range, and I can turn that into a mapping. So these were the values for the domain. When I put those into the function, these came out as a range. When I put in 0, I got out 1. Put in 2, I got out 7. I put in 4, I got out 13. I can take this mapping and I can turn it into a set of ordered pairs to get my set. Let's try it again. This time we have a function that has x squared, and same setup, we want to find the range if we are given the domain. So our function tells us to square the x, then subtract 2. So we're going to start by inputting the first value of our domain, which is negative 3. So I'm going to replace the x with negative 3. I'm going to square it, which is 9. Take away 2 is 7. So if I input negative 3, I output 7. Now I'm going to input 0. We're going to replace the x with 0. We're going to square it, which is 0. Subtract 2, we get negative 2. So if I input 0, I output negative 2. Now 4. We replace the x with 4. We square it, we get 16 minus 2 is 14. So I input 4 and I output 14. And so my range is negative 2, 7, and 14. Now you'll see that these numbers are in a different order than above. And that is because when we write domain and range, it is proper to put them in order from least to greatest. Right? So it doesn't matter how they came out when I plugged them in, we rearranged them in our final answer to put them in order from least to greatest. Sometimes we only want to evaluate one element of the domain. So here we have a function, but I only want to know the value of g of x when x is equal to 2. So I can say that in short by saying find g of 2, right? And you may remember this from the video from last Friday. So if I want to find g of 2, you can see that the x is being replaced by 2. So everywhere in the function rule that there's an x, I'm going to replace it with 2. And then we're just going to do some calculating. And we find that g of 2 equals negative 1. Last one. Here we have a function rule. We are going to find h of 0. So we replace all of the x's with 0. And we get h of 0 equals negative 2. Try example B and then post your answer in the discussion.